Welcome back to our series of seminars that are trying to help you answer life's big questions. This is session 2, in which we are continuing to answer the question, is the Bible a message from a God I can't see? And in particular, we are looking at the accurate long-term predictions found in the Bible. We start by looking at the Jews. And before we start looking at prophecies, we ought to remind ourselves of what we know about the Jews. They are disliked by many. There's even a special word to describe the hatred of the Jews, anti-Semitism. They are found in most countries of the world. They were persecuted in the Holocaust. In fact, about 6 million Jews died in Europe. They are always at the centre of Middle East tensions. They seem to be different from other people. They assimilate less than other groups when they migrate to other countries. Over several generations, they still stay separate more than most migrants. They are often in the news. They are also often found in positions of influence. Many of these facts are a result of the history that the Jews have gone through. Let's just remind ourselves what the Jews have gone through over the last 2,000 years. A brief summary of their story is as follows. Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans in AD 70, and many Jews were taken as captives to Rome. Simon bar Kokhba led another revolt in AD 135, and after the suppression of that rebellion, many more Jews were dispersed from their homeland, which then became desolate. They were persecuted by other nations throughout the next 1900 years. During all this time, although without a homeland, they still survived as an identifiable people. They finally returned to their own homeland and became a nation again in 1948, and the land once more became fruitful. The modern state of Israel has thrived and become a prominent player in modern politics. Bearing that in mind, we can look at what the Bible says. We have already seen that the Greek translation of the Old Testament, called the Septuagint, existed at least 250 years before the Romans destroyed Jerusalem in AD 70, so there is no possibility that the Old Testament predictions were written down after the events. We shall now look at several Bible passages predicting these and other aspects of Jewish history over the past 2,000 years. And as we look at these remarkable predictions, we must be careful to keep our own political views out of these considerations. The Bible tells us that some of the predicted events happened because the people concerned were not behaving in the best of ways. We are looking at the fulfillments of the predictions, not the rights and wrongs of the people or the politics involved. So let's start with the overthrow of the Jewish nation in AD 70. And in this section we'll look mainly at the prophecies in the books of Leviticus and Deuteronomy. These books were written at the time when the Jewish nation was founded. They include a list of consequences for persistent rebellion against God. The rest of the Old Testament is a record of Israel's continual disobedience to God. If these books come from a power greater than ourselves, we can expect to see the threats become reality. Some of these threats aptly describe the Romans attacking Jerusalem in AD 70. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 49 and 50, God said, "The Lord will bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose language you will not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which does not respect the elderly, nor show favour to the young." This passage has described the Romans and their character. They came from much further away than previous attackers. Their language was completely different from Hebrew. Their conquests were rapid, and their banner was an eagle. They were aggressive and merciless. The Arch of Titus in Rome was built to commemorate the overthrow of Jerusalem in AD 70 by the Roman general Titus. The notes include a close-up of part of the arch, showing the 7-branched lampstand from the temple in Jerusalem as it was taken away by the Romans. The temple in Jerusalem was built on the top of an enormous raised platform, and when the Romans destroyed the temple, they took the stones from the temple and threw them off the platform down onto the streets below. The stones are still there today. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 52, we read, "They shall besiege you at all your gates, until your high and fortified walls in which you trust come down throughout your land. And they shall besiege you at all your gates throughout all your land, which the Lord your God has given you." One characteristic of the campaign against the Jews by the Romans in AD 66 to 70 was the progressive besieging and storming of towns one after another. The Romans fought their way through the land, destroying one stronghold after another, using their battering rams to breach the walls. In Leviticus chapter 26, verses 29 and 31, God said, "You shall eat the flesh of your sons, and you shall eat the flesh of your daughters. I will lay your cities waste and bring your sanctuaries to desolation, and I will not smell the fragrance of your sweet aromas." These verses describe the horrors of the siege of Jerusalem in AD 70. Jews ate their children because they were starving. The Romans destroyed nearly all the cities in Israel. The splendid temple in Jerusalem was destroyed, and all worship there ceased. About 40 years before this happened, Jesus pointed to the temple in Jerusalem and said, in Matthew chapter 24, verse 2, "Do you not see all these things? Assuredly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another that shall not be thrown down." Jerusalem was finally destroyed in AD 135. This followed the suppression of the last rebellion of the Jews against Rome under the Jewish rebel leader Simon bar Kokhba. The very foundations of the temple were torn up and the land ploughed. Not even the ruins of a temple survive, just as Jesus predicted. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, we're told again, "And the Lord will take you back to Egypt in ships, by the way of which I said to you, you shall never see it again. And there you shall be offered for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you." Though Egypt was not involved in the Jews' overthrow in AD 70, it was involved afterwards, as this verse predicts. The historian Diodorus tells us that those who survived the Jerusalem siege were sent to the Egyptian mines and compelled to work day and night. The markets were swamped with Jewish slaves, and the words of the quotation were fulfilled, "No one will buy you." We can see just how detailed the predictions relating to this dreadful period in Jewish history are. They were accurate, clear predictions. The Jews were to be attacked by a powerful nation, one that was much further away than previous attackers, one whose language was totally different from Hebrew, one who was swift as an eagle, one who would be merciless, one who would besiege cities to conquer the land. It was predicted that Jews would eat their own children in the sieges. It was predicted that the cities in the land would be destroyed, that not one stone of the magnificent temple in Jerusalem would be left in place. All places of worship would be destroyed. the Jews would be sold as slaves in Egypt. Let's now look at the scattering of the Jews. After the destruction of their nation, the Jews were scattered throughout the vast Roman Empire. The Atlas of Jewish History by Martin Gilbert comments on page 17, by 300 AD, the Jews had settled in every part of the Roman Empire except Britain. In the notes we include a table with the estimate of Jewish populations of many countries in 2006. The largest population is in Israel, but there are many millions of Jews in other countries around the world. Even in a distant country like Australia, there are more than 100,000 Jews. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Jewish merchants played a leading part in trade and ended up dispersed all around the world. There are many references where the Jews are threatened that they will be scattered if they persistently rebel against God. For example, in Leviticus chapter 26, verse 33, God said, "I will scatter you among the nations." In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64, Moses said to them, "Then the Lord will scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other." In Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 16, God said, "I will scatter them also among the Gentiles, whom neither they nor their fathers have known." And the Gentiles refers to people other than Jews. In Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 15, God said, "I will scatter you among the nations, disperse you throughout the countries." There are many reminders of that Jewish scattering around the world. One is the Jew's house in Lincoln. It is one of the earliest surviving townhouses in England, dating from about the mid-12th century. The building originally consisted of a hall at first floor level, measuring approximately 12 by 6 metres, and below that were service and storage spaces at ground level. It's almost 900 years old, yet it reminds us of the survival of the Jews across the world, scattered. Another reminder is in this synagogue in Amsterdam. On December the 12th, 1670, the Sephardic Jewish community of Amsterdam acquired the site to build this synagogue, and construction work began on April the 17th in 1671. The Radhanites were medieval Jewish merchants who used coastal cargo ships. They dominated trade between the Christian and Islamic worlds during the early Middle Ages, around 500 to 1000 AD. And during that time, the Muslim areas of the Middle East and North Africa and the Christian kingdoms of Europe often banned each other's merchants from entering their ports. The Radhanites were neutral go-betweens, keeping open the lines of communication and trade between the lands of the old Roman Empire and the Far East. As a result of the revenue they brought, these Jewish merchants often had privileges in Christian kingdoms and throughout the Muslim world, a fact that annoyed local church authorities and sometimes attracted retaliation or payback. Now God had said to the Jews in Leviticus chapter 26, verse 33, "Your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste." And the desolation of the land of Israel before the Jews started returning there can be seen from the pictures which are shown here, which were taken in 1940. One shows the first tractors to plough the land in the Hule swamp, and another shows workers in the same swamps with their heads covered with netting as protection against malaria-carrying flies. Yes, blood-sucking flies can spread malaria too, just as mosquitoes can, and both were a problem in Israel at that time. So once again, we remember the accurate, clear predictions. The Jews were to be scattered throughout the world, and their land was to be desolate. These predictions were fulfilled. And we'll look at more predictions about the Jews in the next section.